Making the Next Big Shift by Zen Gardner, October 2017, from Heartstar Books website. The so-called shift is actually a continuum of experiences as we let go into where we are being drawn. However, there do appear to be some delineations that we can identify and hopefully learn from. Similar to a ladder, the two poles clearly point upward, but we need intermittent rungs between them in order to make progress one step at a time. Such is the shift as I see it. Maybe this is more a collaborative, collective phenomenon we experience individually, yet concurrently. That's a kind of chicken or egg type of paradox. But just as we encounter similar localized weather challenges, we do seem to share the influence of so many factors in this planetary experience. We never stop learning, ever. That's a long time. Funny how we tend to be so goal and outcome oriented. I want to find myself. I need to know the answers to the big questions. What is the meaning of life? Strange, really. Life like life is a problem to be solved instead of something simply to be experienced, as the expression goes. Shifting in experiential and even mental perception is a remarkable thing. It implies coming out of something into a new awareness and life experience. It changes everything, and all from the inside, not the external. Yet the external experience subsequently changes in sympathetic vibration to our perceptive awareness. Again, paradoxical in nature essentially, which doesn't make any sense according to the low-level thinking we're conditioned with. It's much like the counterintuitive slit experiment that quantum physics stumbled upon. The influence of attention on space-time matter, along with the discovery of particles resonating simultaneously with extremely remote sister particles. I'll interject, folks, it's also a wave membrane, not just separate particles. They're contact points on a membrane. If you think about just those discoveries, it should alter the entire worldview of humanity, its approach to science, philosophy, spirituality, and most of all, day-to-day living. But it hasn't, by design, except for those who are making the shift and taking these things on board along with a plethora of other new awakenings to more full unawareness. The sages of all time have said the same things in various ways. It's been in plain sight all along. It's very easy to get ripped off, sidetracked, and waylaid on our way to greater and greater awareness. The overall spiritual milieu is so charged with tricky Klingons of egoic attachments of every sort, it can feel like flying through an asteroid belt of Velcro balls, just waiting to latch on to whatever they can. That's actually good for us, as whatever sticks and distracts or upsets us is always a mirror, something to learn about our inner corresponding Velcro and to release. That's the trick to all of this. Judgment is a clear, clever prankster. It self-righteously points out faults and issues in others. It thinks it sees oh so clearly while exalting the ego of the observer. Lots of stuff works like that. It's similar to this good, evil, dark, light game so many are involved in. The fighting, finger-pointing, and judgmental antipathy is again ego-feeding, when in fact these polarities are providing to give us contrast and catalyze our learning on this plane of existence. Dualism is just part of the overall, as there is a unified consciousness that supersedes any mental conceptualization and inherently connects us all. These aren't new thoughts or realizations, yet now is when this awareness needs to be integrated into our lives in order to transform them into a new vibrational existence. Enough theory and mental chatter. Shifting is all about living in a so-called higher dimension, if you will. Although again, language and word encapsulations don't do any of this justice, something all will continue to run up against more and more as the shift takes hold. I think this is a very important point. Where we derive our inspiration and learning from can come from anywhere. In this information age where we can find YouTubes, articles, and podcasts about almost anything under the sun, it can be quite the minefield. It takes a lot of discernment. But that grows as we learn to find what resonates and what doesn't. But just because something does not resonate with us, we shouldn't claim it's therefore not true. For everyone in some fashion, we don't know what is really going on fully. We're all on individual learning curves. I find this broad brushing of anything conveniently labeled as New Age is really stunting a lot of people's growth. This goes for any categorizing for personal convenience. It's usually born out of fear and ignorance of the unknown and very easy to do. Sure, the New Age movement was co-opted to a large degree, but the truth still gets out. So is the awakening of the 60s and today's alternative information and research movement, if you can call it that. But right there, movement has a collective tag and freeze frames mental conceptualization. It's the egoic mind that seeks comfort in context, but it operates at a very low frequency. It only tracks past events. Only imagination and spirit-led understanding and aware perception can really grasp the essentials. It's so much like settled science, tracking and mapping and dissecting in an effort to get the mind around things for a sense of control and egoic superiority. It always points back to the same thing. We have to let go of all of that. It's interesting and may bring some understanding, but more than anything, it should inspire awe and wonder and a humbling sense of being part of such a wondrous natural experience that we all share. We have deeply set ways of thinking and such old, worn-out ideas of perceiving to let go of. It's a form of mental prejudice. Being conscious is a full-time experience as we learn to trust and let go at much deeper levels than we have yet perceived. And there's no arrival point. We're in this for eternity. In fact, we always have been. There is a collective mindset to be wary of. It too evolves, but has influence on each of us. These incremental changes can be good in some aspects, but more than anything, they're deceptive, as if a slow reformation will somehow fix the existing paradigms. Not going to work. We're talking about a total shift in perception and hence experience. It has nothing to do with the old. The only thing we can learn from the past is that it's always more of the same. It's destined to fail, and to contain, to limit by its very nature. Breaking out of that lower dimensional miasma is so very new, so different. Virtually all of our old programming and understandings must be scrapped and left on the trash heap of history. It's that new, it's that different, and totally breaks from any sense of self, the biggest hurdle to overcome. This is why so few are willing to let go and go into it. They want to save their cake and eat it too, prisoners of their own paradox. It's the limiting nature we were born into and are here to transcend. We, of course, can still enjoy the amazing experience here, but without ignorance or attachment to it. It's not escaping, it's living our fullness and remembrance of who we are while enjoying the gift of this strange vacation land, school of higher learning and natural park. That some have built rides and control mechanisms to seek and distract us from our true nature is a sideshow and should be treated as such. When we really see that it loses its power and eventually can no longer exist, once it served its function in teaching us and we let go of our fascination and let it go. Until we do it, we will continue on. This is why many talk about moving into 5D, while the others continue to learn in 3D, or however you want to conceptualize it. In some fashion, we can move on while the others continue to learn what they need to. It's painful to watch, as it affects so many, but it's been this way for millennia. We can offer guidance and some instructions, but it's their free will and up to them what they will do with it. To enter into a contest with them is completely contrary to what Source is showing us. It reminds me of how the subconscious can't hear negatives. So bombastic pronunciations against these things only affirms that we are saying not to do. Dualism is a very tricky construct if we don't see it for what it is. So much is embedded in language. Handle with loving care. Our highest form of so-called activism is to simply live as well as be in our highest potential by example. At the same time, and something to take great heart and encouragement in, those of us entering into this next stage of the shift are massively affecting the morphogenic field, which changes everything and further facilitates others catching on. Every change changes everything, so make conscious ones and follow your excitement. That's true zero-point energy. It's the only way. All right, people, I'm Alex Aquarius. Thank you for coming to Plain Mundane Show. Please hit like and subscribe and ring the bell for more notifications. I'm out.